right, good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to today's session, Engigo lecture series. Today is also another unique one, right? Pre-Valentine Engigo lecture, and half of the class are already in red. Half of the class are already in red. So the Valentine has started early in the class, and today is the only time it's happening. It's happening in the evening. Okay, all right. Today's lecture is the beginning of something very important. More so when we've realized majority of the research work that are going on, especially within our environment, make use of instruments. Apart from the laboratory guys that goes into the laboratory and do actual experiments, 90 to 80%, let's say 80 to 90 or even 98% of all the works that we see go on in our environment are actually done with instruments, otherwise called questionnaires, or you can call it skills or measures. People just put together some questions. They go out there, ask people questions, pick up their answers, and then they come out and use it as the experiment. Yes, using questionnaire is good, but remember that your questionnaire is actually the experimental instrument that you are using. So you can have a very good idea, you can write a very good introduction, very good objective, but at the end of the day, if the instrument that you are using to go and measure what you say you want to measure is flawed, it means that the outcome is also going to be flawed. Hello?
Hi.
But unfortunately, in most cases, when you come into contact with the end product of people's work, they tell you this is what they wanted to do, but at the end of the day, you realize that what they sent in there to go and get what they wanted are missing the targets. Now, questionnaire development has a very rigorous, way of doing the questionnaires. And I can say that for 98% of the questionnaires that I've seen people use, they have not done anything in terms of validation. People just sit down, write anything at all, print it out, and then go and distribute it and bring it out, and they call it a research work. So we're going to go through the process of getting to develop or design a questionnaire. If we can take it in 3 parts, that will be okay, but we'll start with the initial search of how to develop a questionnaire. In actual fact, if you want to develop a questionnaire, you alone sitting behind your desk, okay, and thinking through and pushing questions down and say those are the questions you want to do will always not get you to scratch. What you actually do is that after you've gotten the idea, what you do is that you go through the literature search. You go through a literature search on the area that you want to do your work. Now, as you go through the literature search, you will find out that people have done related work or sometimes the same work and have outcomes. Now, so what you do is that in this particular case, you focus on the methodology that is used and the results. Now, in some of the methodology, you realize that people will lead you to sometimes standardized way of doing some of these things. Now, there are psychometrically sound questionnaires that have been developed for some of the things that we do. Even though you may not want to use those things because the setting might not be right, but those things will give you exactly the things you need or the ideas that you need in order to develop your own. Now, even in a case where there is no standardized questionnaire for what you want to do, what you do is that as you go through the people's results, as you go through the results that have been presented, it leads you to the kind of questions or areas that you need to assess and how to assess them. because as the outcomes are presented, it leads you to get to think, oh, okay, you could add this, you could add it. So if you look at 2, 3, 4, or 5 good papers in your area, you realize that they may differ in their approach, but each of them may give you something that is interesting that you can add to your context. So you start with a search. Okay, you start with a search. So we're going to go through. So let's say that we are interested in something. Adherence to anti-malaria medication. That is what? Is it Rest or Raj? The two of you. How come the two of you have the same topic? So it was free world there. It's a free world. Who was copying who?
So you can see.
All right. So you said that what?
You also did the same thing.
Adherence to anti-malaria drugs.
Anti-malaria medication.
Anti-malaria medication. Oh, but it can be just anti-malarials. That should be okay for us. Good. So you realize that a lot of people have done some things like that. You can see them here. Okay. So let's look at this one. Let's pick a few of them so that we'll go through the process and see whether the talk matches the practice and whether it is possible that what we are talking about could be done. Most often than not, like I keep telling you, teachers come to class and say, oh, this is what you do, this is what you do. When you go and sit down, you realize that it is very different. Yeah, the doing is almost always different from the talking. So let's go through it and see. Okay, let's see this one. Let's go through it. If you are lucky with a PDF, yeah, I think the net is responding. Adam's internet is responding to treatment this afternoon. So let's see. Let's download 2, 3 things, and then let's see what will happen. Yeah. Okay. So we are downloading this 2, 3 articles, and then see. Let's say we have come with a blank mind on how we should tackle this particular subject. So we are actually trying to gather information in order to put together an instrument. Okay, instrument, a questionnaire, in order to use as what we use to capture our data for adherence to anti-malaria drugs. So this one is what? Adherence to what? Artemisinin based combination therapy. Oh, okay. Malaria, I don't watch on. But you realize when you go to that place, there was a voiceover. There was a voiceover. Okay, let's continue. So if you have such an article, okay, now you might not know anything about how to go about this particular topic, okay, but you have this particular article. We just picked this article on random, but look at the abstracts. Straight away, the abstract and the results that is being presented in the abstract will even tell you something that might not have come into your mind at all. Okay, straight away, as soon as I realized this method to measure adherence, focus on what? Self-reports. Have you seen that? Self-report. Pill count. As you are sitting down, did anything like pill count came to your head? And do you know what pill count even is? Yeah. Good. So it's giving you an idea as to how you could develop your instrument. Okay? And then bioassay with varying definition. Okay? So just from here, we are getting some things. So if you go into reading this one in details, if you go down, it may give you certain ideas. Remember, it is not everything that you see in somebody's paper that is possible for you to do anyway. But there are some that could help you do. So you see, you have seen some new thing. Adherence, pill count, self-reported. You could now go and search on that one and see. I hope you are getting me. So, okay. All right. Let's see the method that they use, whether we can get something from the methodology. So, definition of ACT adherence. Okay, the definition of definition of patient adherence was standardized across study. However, the majority use variation of blah 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 definition blah blah blah. Let's continue. Method for measuring adherence. This is where we want to be. Now, all four methods commonly used to measure adherence to medication were used to measure ACT adherence. So it means now he's telling there are 4 methods too.
All four
methods. When we're coming here, we need nothing about what method for measuring adherence. But just after reading our first paper, we realized there are 4 different methods for measuring adherence. If we have sat at the desk and we want to measure adherence, at best we could ask people, do you take your medication?
How
often? Those are the things that could come into your head. Yeah, good. So let's look at the 4 methods and then see. So there is self-report from patient or caregiver alone. Hello? Yes, and you realize there are a lot of references on that. So you can even go and chase these references. Then, or in combination with what? Pill counts. Hello?
Hi.
So that is the next one. That one too, you can see a lot of references on what? On that. Okay? Right. So only one study in Ghana reported using self-report alone. So you can go and look for this particular study. Then a single study in Malawi reported using what? MEMS. Which one is that one? We don't know what that is. To measure ACT adherence, but we know what this reference there is. So we can even go down there and look for those papers and look at what really they did. So after looking at these 4 different methods, we should be able to come up with a concrete fact as to what we want to do, how we want to what we want to do it. Hello? Yes. So this is the way to go. Now, so we have come into contact with some new things that we don't know. We will look at them and see. So now we have all the measurement method here: self-report, bio-essay plus self-report. Maybe the bio-essay you might not be able to do it. So pill count, yeah, maybe you may be able to do pill count, or you might not be able to do it. So you do self-report. But even if it is self-report, which one are you going to use? What questions are you going to use in the fact that as far as the self-report thing is concerned? So we've come across some new things. Because of time, we will move on quickly, and then we will come back later to fetch the new things that we have done. But don't forget, we have been introduced to some things. Okay, self-report, and then what? Bio-essay, and then what? Pill count. And then the other one is what? MENS. So we will explore all those things and see whether we can put together a questionnaire for adherence. Okay, let's move on to the next paper. So we'll move on to the next paper. That paper has been a lot of this thing. So this one is also high adherence to anti-malarials and antibiotic under what? Integrated community-based management of illness in children less than 5 years. Okay, let's move on. ICCM. Okay, so when you come to this one too, the same way, you are seeing a lot of things that are being told. Let's see how they got it in terms of their method. So with the adherence was what? Assessed using what? Self-report, and then what? Pill counts. So it means the standardized ways of doing what you call it adherence is not going to ask people unnecessary questions. Are you getting it? Yeah. The self-report may involve asking people questions, but which questions actually make up the what? The self-report. The pill count. How is the pill count thing done? So straight away, as soon as you go into the literature, you get ideas. You follow those ideas, and then you get what? You get the results. And you can get yourself into something amazing. Depending on how well you want to do your work, instead of just going around and then do it. Again, apart from the main topic of self-adherence, as you look through people's work, you realize that the results also come with certain things that they take that you might not actually have considered. So, for example, if you look at it, they are talking about sex of child, age of a month or something. Are you getting it? Caregivers' education level, you may not have asked religion, marital status, residence, history of fevers and stuff and things. So if you look at the results, as the results come up, there are certain things that may be coming up. If you look at how they are being used and you think that you are interested in adding those things to your what? Your instrument, you may pick up those things. Hello?
Hi.
Yeah. So you may pick up those things and then add it to your work. So if you come to this side, you may look out for other things that is coming, how the thing has even been done, optimal adherence, good adherence, non-adherence. So it's giving you an idea. Again, if you pick things like this, straight away, you know that when you go and distribute the questionnaires or whatever and come back, you know how you are going to what? Use the resource. You know expected data and how you are going to handle the what? The data to tell the story. The other good news is also that when you do this kind of things, when you finish, your results is easily comparable to other people's work. So in this case, discussion becomes what? Easy. Discussion becomes easy because you are bringing out outcomes that have already what? Have literature backings.
Yeah.
Though you may alter certain things because of the what really you want to do. But in general, if you look through literature very well before picking up the things you need to do and putting up your questionnaire, when you finish, it becomes easier for you to what? To discuss your results. That is one. You know your expected outcome, the data you are going to get. And when you get the data, you know what to do with it. And after that, you can easily compare your results to what the work other people have done, because it's in line in most cases. So let's look at this one. After that, when we finish, we'll go and be looking out for the self-report and then the pill count thing. How and what really are they? Okay, so we look at this one too. This one too is what? Patient-related factors affecting adherence to anti-malaria medication in an urban estate in Ghana. So this one is what? Patient-related factors. So you guys are talking about what? Adherence to what? Malaria. You might not have even thought about the patient-related factors. So as you see these ones, the results that have been presented and the things that were done, there may be some things that you may be interested in adding to your instrument. Because those things might not have come into your domain in the first place. But as you look at people's work, it give you more ideas. So you can see at this place, they are talking about what? Patient's knowledge, beliefs on anti-malaria, and treatments. So maybe you might not have thought about that, but it may, be helpful if you want to look at it, depending on what you have seen here and the outcome that have been presented. So it gives you new ideas that you may want to add. You may not have even decided to ask which particular drug the person is using, but the fact that you are seeing somebody using it here, AL, AA, AP, it may interest you that in your questionnaire you provide a space where you'll be actually be picking the particular drug that the persons are interested in. Hello? Yeah. So this is what we're talking about when we say look into the literature and then find out things. So here, as you go along in this case, you pick up things. So suspension, knowledge of what causes signs and symptoms or blah blah. It's not everything you see that may be good for your work. But as you go through a lot of literature, you come up with a lot of information. So you are now having things at your disposal which you can use. So all the things that are coming here, dosage recommendation and stuff and things that you are seeing all those here, it might not come into your head if you sit down alone and say you want to do your work. So you read this one, you synthesize it, and the ones that you think that are helpful, you use them. Hello? Yeah. So you don't develop an instrument in vacuum. You don't develop an instrument in what? In vacuum. You develop an instrument after you have enough exposure to a particular topic you are talking about, so that you can see how others have done it and you can pick it up from there. So looking at this one, now let's go back and find out what self-reported adherence is. Now, in some cases, when you are searching at this place, you can even search for questionnaires, specific questionnaires for certain work, just by adding these words. Yeah, just by adding questionnaire. If you are lucky, you may get what do you call it? Certain measure. So questionnaire, measure, scale, those words. You play around those words. Instrument. Yeah. When you do that, you are likely to get those questionnaires available. Most often than not, for most of the things you are doing, there are questionnaires that are available for them. Sometimes the questionnaire might not even be exactly what you want. Like, it may be adherence to another drug, not necessarily anti-malaria. But if you look at the things that are in there, you can easily adapt it to what? To your malaria thing and use it. Hello? Are we there? Good. So we'll launch into finding out the materials very soon. So sometimes when you read people's work and the method in which they did with it, so you see with this guy, they are talking about what? Body weights and age. You may have not thought of looking at any of those things. So the two guys, who one is copying the other to do the work, you may look at some of the things that are available here and put up a lot of what do you call it, good. So you may not have talk of side effect and all that, how mode of travel to the clinic and all that. You may not have talked about that. But if you find that those things are important to the work you're going to do, you just pick them and then what? Use them. So now let's go and search for the questionnaires proper. So let's see. Instead of anti-malaria, let's do questionnaire for adherence or medication adherence in general. Let's see if we come across something like that. Adherence to medication. So like you know how to search, you always search from general to what? To specifics. So let's see if there is something like that. So there is something called medication adherence. That is a CDC. There's ATAC baseline questionnaire, PDF. Okay. All right. But don't forget, you are getting the questionnaire, but you should make the judgment of the applicability and then which questionnaires to select, because for even one particular topic, you have different sets of what? Questionnaires that have been developed. Sometimes you can adapt from one place to the what? To the other. You can take some from one questionnaire, take some from the other. But don't forget, anytime you take something from somebody, you reference the what? The person. Good. So for example, this is the ACTG adherence baseline questionnaire. You just take it, look through it, and then see if the things in there they are applicable to what you want to do. Why not? You just use it. So there's another questionnaire that I just downloaded. You can go through them. So medication adherence, primary care education, blah 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 blah. So there are a lot of them that are available that you can take them. Sometimes you don't need to modify them. Sometimes you can modify them. Sometimes they can lead you to generate your own what? Your own questionnaire. So yeah.
Please, how then do you know whether it's standardized or because it's published you are sure that?
Yeah, for some of them, we will go through how to validate psychometric this thing. But for most of them, you find them with their standardization published. And some of them are coming from very reputed organizations. Are you getting it? Yeah. For example, those in the health sector, you will find a WHO standardized way of doing that, or other organizations standardized definitions for doing some of the things. Hello? Yeah. So you can go through these questions like we are saying. Is it applicable to your malaria thing? If it is, why not? And sometimes some of the skills come, and they come with even the way you assess them. So if you are sitting down to develop your own adherence questionnaire, you realize that a lot of the things that are going on will not come into your mind. Sometimes, if you don't even find a questionnaire, some of the questionnaires, they are proprietary. If you don't find a questionnaire, sometimes look out for the validation of that questionnaire. Whether that is if you read some questionnaire in somebody's work and you are not able to find it for free, look out for the validation of that questionnaire. What happens is that normally when they do validation of that questionnaire, they do the psychometric analysis of that questionnaire. At the end of the day, they will put up the loadings. We will get to those areas where they do the factorial analysis of the questionnaire. They will put up the loadings. Now, when they put up the loadings, when looking through the loadings, they alone give you the questionnaire. Sometimes when you look down, they put it at the appendix of the publication. The whole questionnaire is put as an appendix. Now, even if words come to naught and you are not getting it, you can send the publisher a mail. And in most cases, when you are using it for non-commercial purposes, they are willing to give it out free. The author, yes. You send the author a mail. In most cases, they are willing. If I have developed my instrument, I'll be willing to give it out to you so that you cite my instrument. Yeah, my instrument become popular. It get a wider coverage. So even in cases where the questionnaires are even sold, sometimes they'll give it to you for free. There's a way to go about it. But in most 80% of those instruments, you get them for free. Yeah.
I want to put something across. I want to say that it's even essential to get your questionnaire before you start the work.
Yeah.
It guides you to develop your objectives.
Your objectives, yeah.
Otherwise, you will get an objective, and then at the end of the day, the questionnaire will not be able to answer the objectives
that you have. We are having those cases where somebody's objective is standing alone, and then the results that he's getting is also standing alone. And most of the questionnaires, when you get them and they are standardized, like you realize that they come out with domains, which in actual fact you might not have thought of as you are looking at it. They come out with domains. For like the ones we are looking at, you realize that they have been structured into what? Into domains. So assessing those individual domains itself gives you specific objectives. I should save this one for you. Go and search for it. You might even get a better one than this one. You realize how this one is done, and you see it is thorough. You realize the questions they are presented. You sitting down there is no way you will be able to get through these ones.
You get like 10 questions being go away.
So you realize that when it comes to using standardized questionnaire, you realize that look, there's a lot of things. So you should decide on which part of the questionnaires you are going to use to assess what you want. Hello? Yeah. The job becomes easier this way. That's why I always say that it is easier to do things right than to do it wrong. Because most of the questionnaires also, even the scoring is even provided. So for example, if you pick this questionnaire and you go and pick how to score it, you will get the essence of how to score. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Dominic said, he said if you don't get the questionnaire before you start your work, you may find out that your objective does not fit in.
Yeah.
Perhaps you are taking a different tool altogether. So why don't you rather design a new thing, looking at what you have to as an example? In most cases, you are not designing a new thing. It is because lack of knowledge.
That is why you may have been you may have written what you have written. So, for example, like I did ask the last time, today there was some exercise stuff. So, if the people come and then you want to ask them about exercise, what is the probable question about exercise that you do? Normally, we ask people during our questionnaire. You ask the person, "Do you exercise?"
What kind of exercise?
What kind of exercise do you do? At worst, that's what you ask. Now, in most cases, the way we ask those questions actually don't give us the right answers. So now let's see. Let's say today, 2 people came for the program. One was the bank manager, and the other guy is the truck pusher at the market. Now, if you ask the bank manager, "Do you exercise?" The bank manager has a treadmill in his house. He sits in his air-conditioned car. Okay, sometimes not even he is the one driving, chauffeur to his bank. He's sitting in his air conditioning room. And then on Saturday, he does what? His treadmill or go for what? The gym. So if you ask that person, "Do you exercise?" he will say what? Yes. Now, the guy who is sleeping in the kiosk, who get up in the morning and push the truck all around the whole of Hope and get tired and go and sleep in the evening, and does that 24/7. If you ask that guy, "Do you exercise?" what do you think the person will tell you? He will tell you no. But between the 2 persons, the man who only does his treadmill and the guy who has been pushing truck, who is exercising? The truck pusher. So what happens is that in most cases, when you get the data, you realize that the data does not conform to the outcome that is expected. You realize that the guy who say he exercise, he rather have a higher level of cholesterol or something, and the people who say they don't exercise rather do not have, and you are confused. But in actual fact, the guy who is presenting with low cholesterol is exercising throughout the whole day. The guy is weeding in his farm. He is digging trenches all over. But because he hasn't gotten up one Saturday and going for jogging, he is not what? Exercising. So now, if you want to look at some of those things, meanwhile, what you don't know is that there are questionnaires that are made for these things. So let's look at questionnaire for physical activity or exercise and see.
So always there is something. There is something on what you want to do. It may not be related.
Yes.
Or directly related, but you get an idea.
So see this one, WHO's Global Activity Questionnaire. Look at what this one does. Good. Why it is not good just sit by your desk and doing things without actually searching through the literature and see whether there is something there. So this one is what? GPAQ. That is the Global Physical Activity Questionnaire. You may find so many others. So many others. So this is the Global Physical Activity Questionnaire. That is trying to assess what do we call physical activity. And you look at the way the things, so they have given you is a standardized thing, how to administer it. Everything is what is there. And this is coming from a reputable organization. So you see, it assesses your work. So it assesses your work, the things you do at even your work, your travels. That is whether you walk to work or you go to work in a car. So the guy that walk from here to new site to work every day, and you that take car and Saturday you go for work, and you say you are doing more exercise than the guy who has been working every day from here to the new site. So there are ways to assess things. If you sit on your desk and you want to do it, so recreational activity, every part of it is assessed. Sedentary behavior. So this will really get you what you want.
23 pages.
Yeah, that's a 23-page thing. You might not necessarily need to use all, but you may want to use adapt part of it in order to get what you want. results.
How it is designed. So this one, will get people to answer for you.
No, normally when you have a long version, when psychometrically you can get a short version out of it. That is what we're going to do. You do reduction, and then you may pick up certain things and then throw some away. So most of the standardized questionnaire, you have the long version, and then you have what? The short version.
Average version.
Yeah, but psychometrically they are all sound because they give you the same results. So that would take out redundant questionnaire. This one is not everything that is questionnaire. Some are analysis, examples of analysis and stuff and things like that for you to see how you compute the results. Hello?
Hi.
Am I making a case for doing things right? Because in most of the things that we have been doing, they are standardized way of what? Or doing them. Or if not standardized way, they are validated ways of what? Of doing them. Hello?
Hi.
Right. So we've done that with 2 subjects and we have been successful. And I can tell you with almost every subject that you pick on and you want to assess something on it, you will get so many. So you see physical activity questionnaire, adult physical activity questionnaire, so many of them, general practice physical activity questionnaire, so many of them. So you go through them and you pick up the ones that you think what are important for you, that will help you do your thing, and then you do them. Sometimes even using 2 instruments to do the same work in itself gives you another research on its own. We will get to that when we get to validation. Hello? Right. So this is the way you go to get what you want to put into your instruments. Okay? The things you need to put into your instrument to assess what you need to assess. Then after you have put those things together, in most cases, what you do is that the first thing you do is what we call the phase validity. You look through those things and see how it has been written, even the way the things have been constructed, whether they will be meaningful to the reader, the respondent. So you don't just scribble your questionnaires and then you have finished your questionnaire, you put them together and then you go out there and you are going to answer the question. You come out and you realize that for most of the questions, the people didn't understand them the way you wanted them to understand. You realize they are answering the questions all right, but they are going way off target. So there is the need to validate the question such that whatever that you are thinking that the instrument should be able to bring you, it should bring you that particular thing. For example, we are trying to use questionnaire to assess what? Adherence. At the end of the day, what our questionnaire states that somebody who should have high adherence, it should reflect on the what? On the ground. That a person who have high adherence should score what? Higher adherence by virtue of what? Our questionnaire. And the person who have low adherence or no adherence at all should also what? Score the same thing. Not because of our questionnaire, somebody who have high adherence will rather become what? Score what? Low. So that moves us to what we call the validity. And there are various ways to assess the validity. Okay, validity and reliability, the construct validity, okay, the convergent validity, okay, the reliabilities. We'll go through those ones in our next lecture. Any question up to this stage? Okay, so without much, because of time, we will end today's session here, and then we'll continue.